Oh, it's nice to see you. Robert was trained as a journalist and worked in television before starting his career in audiovisual translation sector, and Angela started her career as a subtitle translator before moving to the regular localization industry, working as a linguist, project manager, and trainer. And now she advises translation companies and serves as AV consultant for MemoQ translation technologies. So my first question to you guys would be, it has been a year since we last met online, and we are now meeting online too. Is there more work, less work? What has changed forever or not? What is your opinion? Angela, would you
Ladies
like to
first.
start?
Okay, let's first, please give us feedback if the connection is not perfect.
Yes, we can hear you perfectly.
We happen to be, even though Robert and I are a couple and we live together, we are today on very different locations in Germany. I'm in Hamburg and he's close to Munich because I'm on vacation. So if there are things different, then it could be because of that. Yes, the industry, I think, has changed a bit. The last time we spoke, we said that it was a little bit like the Wild West, and that things needed to consolidate. There are still, this is still true today, but it is, I think, there are also a couple of mergers of very large companies producing even larger companies in the past 12 months. And I think this is a tendency that we are going to see also in the next 12 months until we speak maybe the next time. From a company, from the business point of view, I would say that the companies are getting more structured, more organized. I think we should get some standards soon, but we don't have them yet. And from a translator's point of view, I think both Robert and I, of course, you have to understand that we both translate into German, so it might be different for other languages. There was first very little work when COVID just started, because we could see that people didn't produce as much. They had to stop everything like anybody else as well. And then they came back with a lot of work. And what we see at the moment is that they are recycling a lot of things. Sometimes films that are at least 5 years old, or series, documentaries and stuff like that. And I think this is going on. On the other hand, there are a lot of streaming services that have been emerging in the past months. And so the market is still very big and very rich, and there's a lot of things going on.
Robert?
First of all, I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Yes, yeah, I hear the feedback, so that's good. I wasn't sure because of my headphones. All right, I want to join in what Angela just said. We have currently a very special situation with the COVID situation. That has changed a lot. We had this situation that actually Hollywood and everybody else was down. Nobody was producing anything, and that came with a little delay to us as subtitle translators as well. In the meantime, as Angela already said, things have consolidated, and well, we have a very much amount of work. I don't know how long this will last, but in the moment we can be happy about that.
Thank you very much. And speaking now about the changes of the work, as you have mentioned, and I also felt it, at some point of the time we had less work, but it was interesting that some companies decided that we should not only have less work, but also less money. And for example, there was an interesting case with the Danish Association of journalist, Media Textarna, who decided to invite all their members to boycott the company called Ayuno, which is now called Ayuno SDI, and actually they urged them to enter into an agreement with the association and to raise their rates. The story was that they introduced machine translation as an assisted tool and decided that all their translators now would be post editors, but people did not agree with that. How do you think whether it will be the trend to follow, or people can still keep fight for their rights and rates?
Well, I think that a single translator cannot do very much. I think if someone has the support of a big association like in Denmark, as you said, then this might be very helpful. Interestingly enough, we have in Germany the same discussion regarding IUNO. There are a lot of colleagues discussing the workflow and the way they pay the payments, machine translation, editing, and so on. And there are a lot of colleagues who are actually quite frightened about the future. And there would be, maybe it would be helpful if there was some kind of association who would say, okay, friends from IUNO SDI, you cannot decline, you cannot lower the payments. At least you have to keep them at the standard as they are now. Actually, to be honest, I don't see that at the moment, at least not in Germany.
Yeah, well, I have been waiting a little bit because this is basically my pet peeve. If you start me on this topic with technology and the audiovisual industry, then I'm like running away and nobody knows how to stop me. So my apologies for that. I think that the technology will come. I'm absolutely convinced that the technology will come, and basically it is already there. There are, when you look at translation tools, I think it's important to understand that there are different portions of audiovisual translation. We are here, I think, mainly talking about the entertainment sector, something that also IUNO does, for instance, but also that the big N and the other big streaming services do. And most of the providers, if not all of these two, already the providers that are already also using their proprietary tools have already either introduced translation machine translation technology into their tools, or they are just about to do that. I think this is what happened during the COVID crisis. In the first months of the COVID crisis, I was attending an audiovisual conference in London in early 2020, just before COVID started. And everybody was talking about using machine translation. There was no doubt in anybody's mind that this was going to come. So this was the last conference that I attended for obvious reasons, because there were no conferences anymore after that. But the fact that this technology was there and already on its way to our monitors and computers was very, very clear. So this, I think we should consider a given. What we should not consider a given, and this is a very political question, as you already said before, is how we deal with that. I think we cannot stop them implementing it, but we should really, really work very hard to be really competent with that, and also to make them lower the rates because of that. because this is not always. I think that this is our leverage, where we are our lever, where we can stop them saying, okay, we will work with this technology. We welcome technology, like all the other areas of translation as well. Also, the gaming people, for instance, are using translation technology. But you cannot lower our rates, because the expertise that is required to work with this professionally is even higher than just translating, maybe. It's a different cup of tea. And I'm sure that my statement is very controversial. Not everybody is going to like this. I would love to discuss it. But this is probably the only chance that we have.
I actually agree. May I just a few sentences? I actually agree with Angela, of course, but regarding technology, I personally have a little problem because if for my personal needs, those technologies that are available at the moment not really work. They don't make my life easier, and they don't speed up my work, actually. The point or the problem is that the machines that are used for translations are not perfectly designed yet. So you sometimes get results when you make a translation that are, well, kind of ridiculous, actually. And sometimes you have more work correcting the machine translation than just translating yourself. So I'm also not against technology, but it has to work. That's my point.
Yeah, I'm tending to resonate with you because years ago I heard about electronic voice dubbing on Media for All conference, but I see only tests running now. And also last year we said about Amazon's trials on machine QCing human translation. I still don't see it at all, whether it has been coming into at least some companies' business model. There was also last year's news about simplified English templates in Big N, but in the fridge I still see only human-authored scripts. And one of the news this year was that actually not the machines, but people asked Netflix to remove their Swahili subtitles from their website because they were terrible and only impact of the social network, real human opinions, was a backlash. And right now, by the way, people don't know whether those subtitles were bad because they were machine generated or whether they didn't find the right translation. So what's your opinion on that? And what are technology for come and to stay, in your opinion?
Well, I'm sorry, ladies first, please.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, okay. Well, I think actually the as I said, machine translations, especially in subtitles, are terrible. They work when you have a one-liner, hands up, freeze, things like that that are said in a thriller, for example, or so. If you have a longer sentence that takes 2 lines in one subtitle, the machine fails already. If you have even longer sentences that are going over more subtitles, my personal record is a sentence that went over 8 subtitles. Crazy. Who writes something like that? But that's another topic. The machine completely fails because the machine sees each line in a subtitle as a single sentence. And if you have a longer sentence and 2 lines, the machine translates 2 lines, 2 sentences with completely bullshit outcome. So if this problem is solved one day, and I'm actually pretty convinced that I will see this day, If this problem is solved, then the machines will deliver very, very, very good results. Until then, we need people. And if subtitles are bad, then I don't know if really only machine generated subtitles are used. Maybe they have, for example, different templates. I've seen a cartoon show recently where the subtitles didn't at all match with the dubbing version. That may have its reason that the dubbing company had a different type of template than the subtitle company. I don't know. I can't say, but that might be the reason that the templates may have been changed, and for that reason, the subtitles are kind of odd.
I think when we are going back to the original, trying to go back to the original question, and I know that Robert and I are having these discussions also when we're just talking together over our desks. One thing is that it really depends a lot on the language combination. So we are very fortunate for German because we have very good machine translation engines, but not all machine translation engines, and this is well known, are the same. So I personally recommend to anybody working with English or German DeepL. I think it is just much better than most. I think, but I'm not an expert there at all, that for Russian, don't know anything about Ukrainian, but for Russian, there are also very good machine translation engines. So it really depends on it depends on the machine, on the engine that you are using and on your languages. This is one thing. The next thing is it also depends on the tool that you're working with. Most subtitle companies have their own tools, but there are also tools that can be used with any that you can basically have for yourself. I think Una is a sponsor of UT Conference, so this is a very good example of that, where you can, as a freelancer, also use your own tool if the company that you work for lets you, because you of course need the SRT files or anything similar, the subtitle files, and you need the video. So you need already a couple of things, and these things have a certain impact on how well the technology functions. I've heard something very interesting here just before. You were talking about templates, and you were also talking about simplified templates. And I think that if the templates are created well, or just in general, the quality of the source material can have a big impact on how a translation works afterwards. This is true for any regular translation, because the subtitle, the long sentence that went over 8 subtitles that Robert was talking about, could have already or should have already been scripted differently by the author of the original language. That would have been much better writing, in my opinion. So to truncate, to edit, to format before the translation even starts would contribute greatly to the translation quality afterwards, and also to the leverage that we have. And the next thing is that we should never expect 100% leverage here. If already we save 20% of our time and our brain power, we have saved something. And I think in a normal translation, you might have something between 40 and 20% leverage, and that is fine because it is better than before. And if you get more, this is even better. Like I said before, it's not the goal to tell the clients, pay us less. if we accept this technology, then we should try to keep the rates up as high as possible, because it is very difficult for us to know in advance, or we cannot really know how the leverage will be. And it is also a quality thing. It doesn't have only to do with giving us less work, but also with consistency, for instance. So basically, it depends on your languages. It depends on the engines, the machine engines that you're using. It depends on the tool. It depends on the template preparation, whether it's a simple. I have just before I went on my trip right now, I translated a nature documentary, and it was scripted language. It was a narrator who told people about what happened in Africa, and they spoke in very nice sentences, very calm, and I think I had an extremely high outcome when using the machine, because it was just very, very good language for this purpose. It even helped me that they were talking about animals that whose names I wouldn't know, because it is not my normal vocabulary, because the machine knew this what I didn't know. So there are a couple of African animals that I have never heard of, but they are still in the dictionary of a translation engine. So that was a great project, but it doesn't happen all the time, of course. It really, really depends on many factors, and it's not correct to assume just that you get an equal leverage out of it.
Maybe I may add something. I think that I have one of those films out of the batch that Angela was talking about, the nature documentary, and I'm desperate because my machine translation doesn't work. It's the same what I said. If you have a sentence with 2 lines, the machine fails. If you have a one-liner, yeah, the lion bites. Oh, right, that works. But above that, everything that goes beyond this point, it doesn't work. It doesn't work really. Okay, maybe sometimes I only have to change one word or whatever, but I think it's annoying actually. If it is not possible for a machine to translate from the beginning of the sentence to the full stop without caring about anything else, I don't know. Maybe I'm too strict about this.
Yeah.
This is what we talk about during lunch when we work. What we fight about during
I tend to agree more with Robert, because for me as a translator, actually bothers when I don't know how much added distance I have, because I feel like the experiments are run on me by these big vendors companies when they make this so-called assisted translation, or whatever they call it. And also the problem with different tools is that sometimes they use theoretical approaches to evaluate subtitle translation that are sometimes very far from the practice. And now I want to ask whether we have some questions in our audience. They want to ask us about news in the sphere, in the industry. They're just very interested. The last thing that I found, Netflix keeps getting us with the news about the industry. Now they decided to make the guidelines for scripts, because they receive scripts in various formats, in PDFs, in Excels and docs, and now they created Netflix TTAL, Time Text Authoring Lineage. Do you think it will be used only for Netflix, or the industry will sometimes go for generalization of different formats and scripts?
Angela.
I think it's at the moment there's a lot of diversity. Netflix is big and rather dominant, but not dominant enough. And I think most subtitlers, and it is also very advised to do so, work for different clients and also for different end clients, not only for different translation agencies, but also for different end clients like Netflix or Disney Plus. As there is a lot of rivalry between them, I think they will probably. I think it's a very good idea that that this new format exists. We should move towards more standardization also on that respect. And I'm super happy if there comes a standardization in with regard to the template creation, the source creation, because this is where it should start. So please do. And but of course, it's only a part of the translation process, or it's a rather remote part of the translation process. But I think also within the translation process, there is still not any standardization, and we should get much better there as well. I don't know whether it is going to be a standard. I don't think that we are going to see it very soon.
Well, I don't know. I don't know as well, because it's very new. It's very recently just came up, this topic. And actually, I thought about it, and actually, I don't care, because I don't care about the data standards or the data formats. Important for me is what's written in this data. And if Netflix would start to tell the authors, for example, what they have to write, then it would be really tricky. I mean, if they tell them what kind of file they have to use, I mean, that doesn't make any difference. So if we will see it, certainly, because I don't agree with Angela when she says that Netflix isn't that powerful. I think Netflix is very powerful. Okay, there's Disney now, which is the biggest entertainment company in the world, but Netflix set standards, and they are a big one in this game, I think. So maybe it will come, but actually I don't care.
Well, what we care is that we still do our audiovisual translation and come back here after the fresh break in 30 minutes. Thank you very much, Angela and Robert, for participating. I hope that you will come in person here sometime in future.
Yes, we hope that too.
We do, actually, yes, absolutely.
Thank you so much.